Okay, so last time, we've already discussed about hypothesis testing, the three methods on how to compute or how to test the hypothesis. And na-discuss ko na din yung dalawang types ng hypothesis, the null and alternative hypothesis. So our goal is to test whether what hypothesis is to reject or to accept. So later, ibibigay ko yung example kung paano tayo nagte-test ng hypothesis wherein pwede nitong i-apply sa real-life study. And we are going to use test statistics para ma-test yung hypothesis. We have one sample z-test, one sample t-test, and proportion. So for today's session, we are going to focus on one sample z-test. So ito yung formula na gagamitin natin. As I've mentioned last time, to evaluate the sample mean, itong observed value, against the population mean, this expected value, we are going to use z-scores to determine how different the two means are. Kasi ito yung kailangan nating i-prove. Kapag null hypothesis, the two parameters, sample statistic man yon or population mean, kailangan wala silang difference. Okay? That is, they are separated by an equal sign. So the first population parameter is equivalent to the second parameter. Okay? So ganun yung kailangan natin ma-prove para ma-accept ang null hypothesis. However, kapag alternative hypothesis naman ang ating claim, para ma-accept, we should prove that there is significant difference between the observed value and the expected value. Okay? Ang kailangan lang natin malaman or mabigyan ng decision is kung i-accept or i-reject ang null hypothesis. So this is the formula. Sample mean minus the population mean divided by the standard deviation over the square root of n. So these two formulas are nearly the same. Nagkaiba lang tayo ng notation sa SD kasi there are some cases na hindi present ang population standard deviation. That's why ang gagamitin natin ay sample standard deviation. But the process on solving the test value ay pareho lang. Okay? And ito yung susundin nating procedures. We have 6 steps. First, set up the hypothesis and identify the claim. Na-discuss ko na kahapon kung ano ang format ng hypothesis natin. So, ganito yan. And make sure to properly write the right symbol or signs. Kasi meron tayong 6 na choices. Equal, not equal. So, yun lagi ang magpa-partner. Greater than or equal, tsaka less than. Less than or equal, at tsaka greater than. And then, pwede nyo rin balikan yung key terms or phrases na pinakita ko kahapon para ma-identify natin kung nasaan ang direction ng problem natin. Okay? Whether it is a two-tailed test, right-tailed test, and left-tailed test. Set the level of significance. Meron tayong tatlong pinagpipilian that is always stated in the problem. 1%, 5%, and 10%. Okay? That is denoted by alpha. 3, determine the critical value of Z. So, gagamitin natin ang T-table. Doon lang tayo magbe-base sa bottom part kasi doon naka-indicate yung Z value natin. Calculate the one sample Z-test using the formula presented earlier. Statistical decision. So, we are going to decide if i-accept natin or i-reject ang null hypothesis. Meron tayo ditong tinitingnan na criteria. Z computed is less than Z critical, accept the null hypothesis. Z computed is greater than or equal to Z critical, reject the null hypothesis. Z computed, ito yung answer natin sa number 4. Z critical, ito yung answer dito sa number 3. That's why dapat parehong tama ang sagot sa 3 and 4. And then number 6, so magde-decide na tayo ng conclusion and magbe-base tayo dun sa sagot sa number 5. Kung ano ang naging ang decision natin, dun tayo magpo-formulate ng conclusion. So ito yung pwedeng pattern. Pwede rin kayong gumawa ng inyo, depende kung ano yung nakastate sa problem. Kapag na-reject ang null hypothesis, ibig sabihin, there is enough evidence to support a claim. And if we accept the null hypothesis, there is not enough evidence to support the claim. Ito lang yung common na lumalabas sa problem. Okay? So please be reminded of the following steps. Example number 1, a researcher reports that the average salary of company managers is more than 63,000 pesos. A sample of 35 company managers has a mean salary of 65,700 at alpha is equal to 0.01. Test the claim that the company managers earn more than 63,000 a month. The standard deviation of the population is 5,250 pesos. Okay? So first, analyze niyo yung problem. Dun sa given na nandito, kailangan ma-identify niyo kung alin dyan yung magsasatisfy dun sa notation na ibibigay mo. Okay? So dito, wait lang. Ang ating sample mean or X bar ay 65,700 pesos. Why? Kasi kasama siya dito sa binigay na sample of 35 managers. Okay? Kasi dalawa yung kailangan yung identify dito. Ano ang sample mean at ano ang population mean? So dalawa lang naman yung given dyan, 63,000 or 65,700. Therefore, ang ating sample mean ay 65,700. Kasi nabanggit naman dyan na itong amount na to ay para dito sa 35 company managers. Therefore, ang ating population mean ay 63,000 pesos. Okay, so tingnan mabuti kung ano yung difference nito. Itong X bar, ito ang mean ng ating napiling sample. Itong population mean, average salary nung ating population. Okay? Next, standard deviation is 5,250. So given naman ang population SD, that's why ito ang ating notation. And ang ating sample ay 35 company managers. Okay? Next, so meron na tayong given. First step natin ay alamin kung ano yung type of test. Either two-tailed test, left-tailed test, and right-tailed test. Paano natin malalaman? So hindi na natin babalikan yung key terms kasi malayo na yung slide. Tingnan na lang natin ang direction ng ating problem. Okay? Di ba ang direction naman natin is either left, right, o kaya on both sides. Dito sa problem, hahanap kayo ng clue or ng key term para malaman natin ang direction. Okay? Usually naman, kapag more than, greater than, increase, right-tailed yon. Kapag decrease, less than, lower than, left-tailed. At kapag walang binanggit na direction sa problem, ibig sabihin nasa parehong side. Meron sa left tail, meron sa right tail, and that is called two-tailed test. Okay? Pag wala lang nabanggit na direction sa problem. So dito, ang key term natin ay yung phrase na more than. Okay? So katulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, ang phrase na more than ay para sa right-tailed test. Therefore, ang test natin na gagamitin dito is nasa right part lang. Okay? And then step 1, set up the hypothesis and identify the claim. Magsaset tayo ng dalawang hypothesis, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. Ang ating null hypothesis, population mean is less than or equal to 63,000 pesos. And ang ating alternative hypothesis ay population mean is greater than 63,000 pesos. Bakit 63 yung ginamit natin? Kasi ito yung tinetest natin according sa problem. So, balikan natin yung problem. Ang tinetest dyan, test the claim that the company managers earn more than 63,000 pesos. Ang kailangan natin matest, yung claim na ang company managers daw ay nag-earn ng greater than 63,000 pesos. Therefore, yun po ang magiging value natin for K. Yan. So, ito ang magiging value natin for K. Itong 63,000 pesos. Okay? Kasi di ba dalawang population means yung kailangan nating i-compare. Pero dito, hindi nyo na kailangan mag-substitute sa part na to. Dito na lang sa ating K. And then, tingnan nyo yung sign na ginamit natin. Pwede nyo balikan yung table na pinesend ko kahapon para makita nyo kung ano yung proper sign na gagamitin. So, isang less than or equal, tapos isang greater than. Next, identify the claim. So, between these two hypotheses, alin yung pwede nating i-claim? Sabi doon, more than 63,000 pesos. So, between these two symbols, alin dyan na nagpapakita ng more than? The answer is the alternative hypothesis. Okay? Because this is less than kapag naka-open, kapag naka-point, that is greater than or more than. That's why ang i-claim natin dyan ay alternative hypothesis. Okay? But katulad ng sinabi ko last time, hindi naman laging null ang kiniklaim natin. Ito yung ating main hypothesis that there are some cases na ang kiniklaim natin ay alternative because it is the result of a real effect. And hindi naman laging 100% or perfect yung paggagawa natin ng hypothesis. Okay? So, meron na tayong step 1, na-identify na natin ang two hypotheses and alam na din natin kung ano ang claim. So, dapat sa lalabas na result natin, that is greater than 63,000 pesos. Step number 2, set the level of significance that is stated in the problem. So, we are going to use alpha is equal to 0.01. Ito, hindi kayo mag-assume ng value. Lagi po yung stated sa problem. But in real-life research, kung sino yung researcher, siya yung nag-identify kung ano ang gagamiting level. Step number 3. So we have to determine the critical value for Z. And paano tayo magde-determine? We are going to use the T table. So ito yung ating t-test table, t-distribution table, or t-table. And na-explain ko na din last time kung paano to ginagamit. Sa step 1 natin, na-identify natin that this is a right-tailed test. And ang right-tailed test natin ay under ng one-tailed test. Therefore, dito tayo titingin sa upper heading. Dito sa may box na red. And then, hanapin kung ano yung ating level of significance. Ang ating level na nakastate sa ating step number 2 ay 0.01. That's why dito tayo titingin sa column na to. Okay? Again, tingnan ang significance level under ng one-tailed test. Hanapin ang 0.01. Ito yun, nasa column na to. And then, tingnan ang z-value dito sa baba. Again, since one sample z-test yung ating ginagamit, dito tayo titingin sa z-value na nasa bottom part. That's why ang gagamitin natin ay 2.326. Okay, so meron na tayong value for step number 3. That is the critical value of z. Okay, that is 2.326. Step number 4, calculate the one sample z-test using the formula for z-score. And state the given, katulad nung kanina, para hindi na natin babalikan. Formula is sample mean minus population mean divided by the standard deviation over the square root of n. And then substitute all the given values. Sample mean is 65,700. Population mean is 63,000. Population standard deviation is 5,250. And the sample size is 35. Okay? You may directly input this on your calculator. So better kung meron kayong calcu para nasusundan nyo yung ating pagko-compute. Okay? Kung wala naman po, pwede kayong mag part by part. I-divide muna itong ating standard error. 5,250 divided by the square root of 35. Tapos, nasubtract nyo na naman to, saka nyo ipag-divide itong dalawa. So, the answer will be 3.043. Since ang ating critical z value ay 3 decimal places, kaya pinaturn ko na rin, naka-round off na to 3 decimal places. But again, sa quizzes and your examination, please follow the answer format or guidelines na nasa problem. Kasi hindi laging ganito. Okay? So, meron na tayong z-value. Ito yung tinatawag natin na z-computed. And that is 3.043. Okay? Step number 5, statistical decision. Meron na tayong sagot sa step 3. That is 2.326. Meron na din tayong sagot sa step 4. That is 3.043. Ang gagawin na lang natin is to compare yung dalawang sagot natin para makapag-decide tayo whether to accept or to reject. So please be reminded dito para alam nyo kung kailan mag-accept at magre-reject. If the z computed is less than the z critical, accept. Z computed is greater than the z critical, reject. Ito yung sagot natin sa step 4. Ito yung tiningnan natin sa table. Okay? Ang z computed natin, 3.043, and that is greater than the z critical value, that is 2.326. That's why ang decision natin is reject the null hypothesis. Kasi ang symbol na ginamit natin ay greater than. Okay? Another way ng pagde-decide, kung hindi man kayang tandaan to, kung nalilito sa symbols, pwede kayong gumamit ng normal curve. Okay? So assume that this is the normally distributed data. Ito yung bell curve natin. And then, ilocate ang 2.326. Ito yung ating critical value. Tapos, lagyan ng shade yung ating critical region. So let's say ito yung ating critical region. And then, pwede nyo nang i-locate ang 3.043. By the way, nasa right yung ating critical region kasi tayo ay right-tailed test because of the word more than. Okay? And then, allocate ang 3.043. So, kung nandito ang 2, therefore, yung 3 ay pwede nating makita somewhere here sa part na to. Okay? So, assume natin that the middle part, ito ay 0 ang value. So, tapos, ito ay 1, ito ay 2. Let's say, nandito ang 3. So, ibig sabihin, probably, nandito ang ating value for the Z computed. And that is 3.043. And kapag nandito tayo sa critical region, we need to reject the null hypothesis. Okay? In case na yung ating Z computed ay nasa part na to, dun lang natin i-accept ang null hypothesis. Okay? So, meron na tayong decision. Last step is to provide a conclusion. Pwede niyong gamitin yung pattern kanina. Since we reject the null hypothesis, we can conclude that there is enough evidence to support the claim that the company managers earn more than 63,000 a month. Okay? Wherein ang claim na sinusuport natin dito is H1 or alternative hypothesis. Okay? So, yun po yung pag-test natin ng hypothesis. Meron tayong 6 na steps. Okay, so this is for sample number 2. The average baptismal cost includes 50 guests. A random sample of 32 baptismals during the past year in the NCR had a mean of 53 guests and a standard deviation of 10. Is there sufficient evidence at the 0.05 level of significance that the average number of guests differs from the national average? Okay? So, una nating titingnan, meron bang direction ang ating problem? Okay? Meron ba diyang nabanggit na direction to the right o kaya to the left? Kung wala po, kung wala kayong nakikita dyan, ibig sabihin that is a two-tailed test. Ano yung key term na pwede nating tingnan? Okay, pwede natin masabi na ang clue na nakita natin ay differs. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng differs? Ibig sabihin, magkaiba ang parameter 1 dun sa ating parameter 2. Okay? So, dito pa lang sa term na to, pwede natin masabi na ang ating test ay gagamitan ng two-tailed test. Okay? So, basta wala tayong direction, either left or right, automatically that is a two-tailed test. Pwede kayo may makitang term na is equal o kaya not equal, pero hindi lahat ng problems ay naka-indicate yun. Kaya mahalaga ma-analyze nyo yung problem natin. Kasi pag mali pa lang kayo dito sa part na to, hindi na kayo makakapag-decide ng hypothesis. Kasi magmamali na din kayo ng signs. Okay? And then these are the given values. Ang average natin ay 50. That's why it is the population mean. And then sa previous study, during the past year sa NCR, meron kinuhang 32 na sample, kaya yun ang ating N. And ang kanyang mean ay 53. Okay? Basta itong dalawa, lagi silang magkasunod or magkasama. Para hindi kayo malito sa sample mean at population mean. And then, ang ating standard deviation ay 10. Ang level of significance natin is 0.05. So tandaan yung given natin. Ang gagamitin nating value ng K ay 50. Kasi ito yung ating tinatest. Okay? Ang kailangan natin dyan i-test ay yung 50 that is not equal to 53. Okay? The average number of guests na 50, that differs dun sa ating national average. Okay, step number 1, set up the hypothesis and identify the claim. So alam na agad natin na that is a two-tailed test. Next, mag-set ng null and alternative. Null hypothesis, population mean is equal to 50. Alternative hypothesis, population mean is not equal to 50. Okay? Again, balikan yung table para dun sa mga nagtatanong kung bakit ito ang symbols. Kasi nandun po yung format natin. Next, identify natin yung claim. Katulad nung nabanggit ko kanina, ang kailangan daw natin patunayan ay magkaiba yung ating dalawang mean or magkaiba ang result ng parameter. So between these two symbols, alin dyan ang nagpapakita ng difference? That is alternative hypothesis. That's why ito ang ating magiging claim. Okay? So meron na tayong hypothesis and claim. Next, set the level of significance. As stated in the problem, we are going to use alpha is equal to 0.05. Step number 3, determine the critical value of Z using the T-table. Ang ating level of significance ay, by the way, that is a two-tailed test. So dito lang tayo titingin ng values. And then ilocate ang 0.05. That is located here sa column na to. And then tingnan yung last number natin dyan. Kasi nandyan po yung ating Z value. Okay, so ang gagamitin natin ay 1.960. Okay, according dito sa ating two-tailed test at saka itong sa bottom part. Okay, so meron na tayong value ng Z critical, that is 1.960. Next step, Z computed. Calculate the one sample Z test using the formula for Z score. Yan yung given natin kanina. And then state the formula. Substitute. Sample mean is 53. Population mean is 50. Standard deviation is 10. Sample size natin is 32. And then simplify. The answer is 1.697. And since it is a two-tailed test, ibig sabihin magkakaroon tayo ng isang positive at isang negative. Okay? Parehong sides natin ay may critical region. Again, because we are testing on a two-tailed format. Statistical decision. So ito ulit yung ating palatandaan. And then ang ating Z computed ay 1.697. And ang ating Z critical is 1.960. Therefore, we need to accept the null hypothesis. Dito, para hindi kayo malito, kung ano yung naging result, positive, yun na lang ilagay. Okay? Dito kasi, it's either nandito yan sa positive side or sa right side or pwedeng nasa left side. Kaya lang ang computed value natin ay positive. Dito naman, either positive or negative since two-tailed tayo. So both sides natin magkakaroon ng critical region. Okay? So pwede rin gamitin ang illustration. Locate ang critical value that is negative 1.960 and positive 1.960. So meron na tayong Z critical. Ibig sabihin, wait. Yan, ibig sabihin, nandito sa part na to ang ating critical region. Next, ilocate naman ang 1.697. That is somewhere here between 0 and 1.960. So assume natin na nandito sa part na to. And kung nandito sa part na walang shade, ibig sabihin, i-accept ang null hypothesis. So pareho lang naman ang magiging decision. Okay? And then lastly, provide the conclusion. Since we accept the null hypothesis, we can conclude that there is not enough evidence to support the claim that the average guess in A baptismal is not equal to 50. So, inaccept natin ang null hypothesis. Therefore, there is not enough evidence. And ang claim pa din natin dito ay alternative hypothesis that is denoted by H sub 1. Okay? So, kung i-accept daw natin ang null hypothesis, i-reject natin ang ating claim. Okay? So, that's how we test the hypothesis.